So 5, 4. Hello and welcome to the League of Legends Anonymous podcast. I am your host this week, Tyler, aka T Sir Enigma, with a bit of a rough start. This is episode 126, and this is a special episode.
162, but close enough.
162. You know what? We're gonna come out strong here. Special episode. We have a guest with us this week. The guest is see if I can nail this in one try. The name RistiuMMask.
Not bad.
Yeah, there we go.
You got it.
And there's that voice right there. And also joining us this week is Sam, aka Just Casual. You heard him give me the hard time.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah. So if you'd like to introduce yourself a bit there, Rist, kind of tell the people what you're about, what you do.
Hi, hello, how are you? I'm RistiuMMask, guys. I'm the silly, happy-go-lucky Garen mid-lane extraordinaire. I've been playing League of Legends for 7 years now, and I stream almost every day on Twitch, trying to be a moment maker for those of you who are burnt out about the game, a little salty, but trying to improve attitudes left and right. And I have a lot of fun doing it. So also trying to hit Masters with Garen. That's another big thing for me, too. So pretty much me.
Yeah. Well, and a fun fact about your Garen, and this is one of my favorite facts about it. I mean, well, I shouldn't say that because there's a lot of cool stuff about it. Is that you held the highest ranked, or the title of the highest ranked Garen player in the world according to LOL skill.
Yes, I've done that multiple times. Currently, I am not number one at the moment. When it comes to world standing through LOL skill and op.gg, I am the 9th. But I've claimed that title many times before. And out of the 10 top in the world, I think I stream the most consistently out of all 10. So I definitely show a lot of expertise in terms of my stream sessions, and I also help out a lot of new Garen players. So I definitely am a good authority in terms of, the high rankings.
Well, I like that you said like the helping out thing, because we actually started talking through the subreddit, the Summoner School, because I saw you with well thought out and articulated and nice way of putting helping somebody out. So. It's funny, and then when you're talking about your stream, it like kind of shined through with your comments. So that's cool. That's the overarching mentality there.
Thank you. Yeah, I love Summoner School so much. They eat up my stuff so much. Whenever I see a Garen thread, I'm just like, hi, hello, how are you? I'm RistiuMMask, and I just hit them with a wall of text, and it turns into like a mini AMA. I just really enjoy it.
Yeah. Awesome. So do you frequent because I think every main has a subreddit. So like, are you like do you post a lot in the Garen's subreddit main as well?
Yeah, occasionally. It's not the biggest champion subreddit. I mean, Garen isn't really that popular of a champion, but the community is definitely, I have to say, our community, all the people I've come met, all the different Garen mains, the community is so tightly knit and just so many respectable people. I can't really say much about other champions subreddits, but I've made so many good friends and connections with other Garen streamers, and the competition is definitely not heated. It's very, very friendly. I definitely feel super respected. I can respect so many other people that I compete with, even like competing for like the number one spot. I can definitely respect so many people who tried the same thing that I do.
All right, so I have a very important question for you then. We all know that Yasuo mains are brain dead people, and I know there's a lot more of them. So if the Garen main subreddit fought with a Yasuo main subreddit, who would end up winning?
Well, it depends on how many messages each Garen main is capable of sending out, because I know Yasuo mains are just going to be hitting Q every second, so I can imagine the keyboard warriors hard. Compared to us who just have to hit one key and then we're spinning for like 4 seconds. So we got a little bit of downtime. We probably have less carpal tunnel than those players do. Nice. No. It's like massive numbers versus endurance. But those Garen mains got some perseverance. So I don't know. I'd be interested to see.
Nice.
Yeah, they might come out swinging harder, but you guys are going to last a lot longer than they will.
Oh yeah, I mean Garen mains know how to take the hit. I mean Garen's passive literally teaches you how to wait. That's one of the favorite things I know about playing Garen. It's a champion that teaches you patience.
All right, so
that passive is annoying.
So I need to ask the other question for those of you. Most of our listeners end up listening to this via podcast, audio format. Those of you that are watching us on YouTube or watching us live on Twitch, and for those of you that aren't here because you're coming from Risti's stream, you are wearing a mask. And that is in your name as well. What's the story behind the mask? Or
Well,
about the
nobody
mask,
said
not behind the
what it was
mask.
until I put on the mask. But in all seriousness, I've been a mask fanatic. I made my favorite game of all time, and this will probably never change. Is The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, and ever since then,
game.
I've gone to masquerades. I've collected masks, and when I started streaming, I wanted to see if there was any possible viability, if any audience could tolerate some dude having a mask planted on his face 24/7 while streaming. And I found out there's already somebody doing that on Hearthstone, Disguised Toast, and so many people, thousands of people love him. So I feel like if he can do it, I can do the same thing too. So I'm kind of like the Disguised Toast of League of Legends in a way. And people definitely are sometimes thrown off by my mask. Some people think it's cringy, they're intimidated by it. But I have to say, generalistically, from a streamer standpoint, if it wasn't the mask on my face, streamers get criticism of all different shapes and sizes. People get comments on their nose, their face, the color of their skin, their voice, their attitude, their hair. If it wasn't the mask on my face, it would definitely be something else constantly. So that's why I don't really take those comments that are thrown at me really too seriously. I just carry on with it. So it's really cool.
Fair enough. Now, the one thing I did see too is you made the mask you're wearing.
Actually, well,
Is this the one you made? Or
no. I only the only thing I do with this mask is I sometimes repaint it because the ink does fade. But this this is made from a woman who I was in contact with, and she is a very, very famous mask wearer and maker. She's made masks for Katy Perry when she went on her Prismatic World Tour. She goes by the name of Mary Mask. She's got an Etsy too, so you can look that up if you guys are interested. But yeah. Definitely more expensive than the typical Mardi Gras mask, but the quality is so worth it, and these things last so long. And apparently they're flame resistant too, but I don't want to try that out, to be honest.
How many people had to figure that out before they had to slap a tag on it? How many people learned that the hard way?
Apparently there was a group of people who purchased these masks, and there were torch throwers, or I don't know, fire wielders, firebenders, whatever you want to call it, and they had an accident, but apparently part of their injuries were prevented because they found out the mask was flame resistant. So I think it's pretty cool.
I mean, yeah.
That's how I deal with flamers in League of Legends, because I got the mask on.
Hey, there you go. Oh, man. Now, the one thing I know people are thinking, besides Sam's question of the mask, is when they hear Garen, they are assuming that you play Garen predominantly top lane.
Yeah.
No,
surprise! I play
though.
mid lane too. Yeah, I know, it's really, really strange. The pro player, I forget what team he's on. Keen.
Keen.
Yeah, he actually plays Garen mid lane in solo queue on his Masters account. But I've been playing Garen mid lane, I think, for the past year and a half.
Here's the guy that used to do the Hecker mid lane as well, right?
He brings out the random stuff. Yeah.
He loves experimenting. And I just love playing Garen top lane so much. But in the solo queue games where I got autofilled, I had to eventually just work at mid lane. I'm like, okay, I got to find some way to make this work. And I found so many people who are thrown off by just Garen being mid lane and the whole surprise factor and just making Garen mid lane work. I mean, if you think about it, Garen doesn't really have any strengths that he brings to the top lane. Silence is a very outdated type of tool you want to bring to the top lane. Like, for example, if you silence a Tryndamere, it means almost absolutely nothing to him because he can keep auto attacking you. He can even ult while he's silenced. So
seriously, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Even through suppression too. So when you look at a mid lane mage who's reliant on their abilities to carry out functions, to escape, to engage, to burst, to kill, silence is actually really problematic against them. It's like almost as oppressive as the old Kassadin, who had a point and click silence that was a ranged ability. This is almost the next best thing, and I actually find really good success against some mid lane mages. And it's really fun for my stream audience too. I definitely like being the wild pick. I mean, I'm weird enough being me, so I might as well play weird play styles with Garen at the same time,
All right, so then when are the times when you're going into lane you're like, yes, I'm against this, Garen mid is gonna be awesome, and when are times you're like, I'm second guessing my choices, but I'm still going with it?
Oh my god. Okay. I'm so glad you asked this question. Okay, so Cassiopeia, right? I love this matchup so much. Early game, when you go out with Doran Shield, her poison refreshes the Doran Shield passive because of the DOT tick. And It's a complete farm fest. You know, the first outing with Garen mid lane, I have a policy. I don't typically engage the mid laner because Garen's levels 1 through 3 are really weak, and pushing is just very dangerous because Garen doesn't have like high mobility like other champions. So I typically farm it out. But when I hit level 6, I can do some really interesting stuff. Like, for example, if I want to all-in Cassiopeia and I start spinning, she doesn't know if she has to ult. She doesn't know if she can ult because she doesn't know if I'm facing forwards or backwards. It's so cool. So I'm like clicking back and forth with my mouse. And sometimes I miss her ultimate completely because she's so thrown off. I've even been against cast players who don't even ult because they don't even know if they can land it successfully. It's really, really funny. And I have so much fun against cast. So that's typically one of them.
Okay, wait. Okay, now you have to answer because now I'm confused too. If you're clicking towards Cassiopeia, does that mean you're facing towards her, or are you literally facing in 360 directions?
Yeah, it depends on where your character model is facing. It's the same as trying to Cassiopeia Alta Katarina. You can actually not stop it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's a really, really weird interaction. I mean, sometimes when you're clicking forward, it will definitely impact the influence of whether you get stunned or not. But if you click like left or right and then maybe back, you want to be like frantic with it, especially if you're binding her against the wall and she doesn't have much moving room. Yeah, it just really throws off the cast player.
Okay. Anyway, go on. That blew my mind. I'm like, wait, we got to stop for a second.
There are some matchups that do cause a lot of trouble for Garen, typically because these are champions that have access to easily accessible true damage. We're talking about Ahri, we're talking about Vel'Koz, and there's one other champion I forget at the moment. But I see a lot of Vel'Koz and Ahri, very, very popular mid lane mages. And with true damage, it completely bypasses the damage reduction in Garen's W because, of course, true damage bypasses damage reduction. And with Garen's recent W changes, you can shrug off and take a lot of harass from mid lane mages as long as you time your W correctly. Those two mages, they don't really care about it. RA, as long as she times her Q correctly, she will nail you and whittle you down. Vel'Koz, you got to be careful of your HP because if he lands his ultimate, it's only going to be a small matter of time before his ultimate is complete true damage, and your W means nothing against him. So I have to say those two matchups definitely give me some trouble. And LeBlanc, I have to say LeBlanc is definitely the third hardest because she can harass you without triggering minion aggro, and she has that double snare, which is really problematic for Garen, for sure. I sometimes have to take cleanse just to get away from her.
Oh, jeez. That's pretty painful.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah. So do you actively do you queue as mid lane or do you still queue as what's your
mid is my primary. People ask me that in chat. People ask me that in champion select. I know it's crazy, but I queue up as mid. I prefer going mid lane. Garen is just a very outdated champion for top lane. I know not every Garen player is going to agree with me, but if you think about bringing Garen to the top lane, you will seldomly hear any Garen streamer say, okay, guys, we're up top lane against this champion. This laning phase is going to be easy for us. You know what that champion is at the moment? Wukong. And we don't even see that champion at the moment. And you can still lose that matchup if you mess up badly. So there's no easy win matchup if you're in an MMR that you're quite familiar with, unless you're smurfing top lane. It just doesn't really exist. And the second one that comes close to that is basically Nasus. But the thing is, with Nasus and his current changes, there's only a matter of time before he outscales you, and he can beat you in a 1v1 even with Ignite. So the thing is, just Garen either gets beaten in lane really badly through a bad matchup, or he gets beaten in lane and outscaled at the same time. So I find that I typically don't win too many top lane matchups in Diamond unless I get jungler assistance. So mid lane, I really tried bringing out my own strategies. And the cool thing about mid lane, too, is that you're allowed to roam more freely than top lane rather than babysitting on Gola Gola Island. So I can actively hunt the villain more, which allows me to get the bounty hunter stacks that I need. That's the mastery choice in the frosty tree, which for every unique kill that you get 1% extra damage. I really love stacking that. And I'll go ahead and move that champion when they're dead to the top of the list because you can drag those names up and down the list when you hit the tab key. And I'll keep a mental checklist. Okay, I need to kill this champion. And then when it's stacked, it's a really good system, and it amplifies your damage while allowing you to get 10k at the same time, depending on what my itemization is.
How well are you received at a higher elo, with a pick like that? Are they a little more used to a mid to high diamond "Hey, I'm a Garen mid One Trick," and everyone's like, "Sure you are." like what's the how do you received in Champ Select typically?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so in Diamond 5, where people tilt so easily, I get flamed so much for playing Garen mid lane. Once I get out of Diamond 5, people look me up. People use op.gg more freely, and they're like, okay, this guy has 2K Garen games, and I see he plays mid lane as his primary role. Okay, apparently he makes it work. Let's go ahead and see how it is. And I got such weird reactions. I got so many weird reactions, and I've actually collected clips of streamers who've reacted to Garen mid, and I'm trying to compile like a highlight reel. Like I've gotten reactions from Good Guy Gary, Tobias Fate, Meteos, LS, and I'm just compiling the memories, and I think I'm definitely like well known on NA as the Garen mid lane player. People definitely remember me. I think I'm making a name for myself, which is really cool. The highest I've ever gotten is D1 promos with Garen mid lane, not top lane. So I really believe I can get to Masters if I improve my consistency, which is like the biggest problem I have at the moment.
Well, we're rooting for you. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
thank
you.
Anyone
And for anyone wondering, we are going to link his Twitch and YouTube information in the show notes. So go and check that out because I know I want to see that clip. But yeah, go check out his stuff. Go check out his streams like that. We'll have that in the show notes for you. But definitely go check that out because that sounds hilarious. I want to see that.
It is honestly. I use, and on top of that too, I use an item that is rarely used, which is Banner of Command. So when a mid laner at like the 10-minute mark sees that this empowered cannon minion strolling down their lane, attacking down their tower, and they can't do anything to get rid of it, they have to let die to turret shots. And I give it a nickname, by the way. My stream calls the cannon minion Mini Mask. We decided on it because I use it so much. So I like anytime I bring Mini Mask out, I'm like joking on stream, being like, "Hey, Mini Mask, how you doing, buddy? You having a good day so far? Let's go ahead and get some stuff done." And this minion has made itself famous. Like I remember sending the banner minion down bottom when we had Baron. I had an Akali fighting a Swain, and I was grouping top lane. It was a 4-in-1 type of setup where you want to send 4 people top lane and you have 1 person bottom. And I remember when I was team fighting top lane, I remember I randomly on my screen saw that I got a kill. I'm like, wait, is this a bug? How did I get a kill? And I see Akali's dead body and Swain's dead body. Akali died before Swain, but Mini Mask, the cannon minion, actually finished off Swain while the 1v1 actually ended because the banner minion actually gets so much bonus attack damage. It was on top of massive range. It was so funny.
Wow,
that's jokes.
That's great. You can't make that shit up.
No.
Now,
oh my goodness.
The one thing that we talked about, like when we first started talking, was that I noticed too in like a lot of your summoner school stuff, you change your build a lot, which is something that we talk about a lot in our past episodes, and we talk a lot about like in the community, is being adaptive with your build and not staying with like every game I build XYZ in this order only, and like getting away from that and like learning how to build champions for matchups for what you need. And like typically when you hear like a one trick, usually you hear Tom Kench, Aiden. You hear like Yasuo, you hear like the more popular champions, and you hear like you see a Yas build the same thing every game. You see those players building the same thing every game. You don't do that because I've seen your history, and it's very much like different than that. I just wonder if you can talk on that a little bit and like.
Absolutely. I feel like I'm a mad scientist. Like, I remember putting my stream title once, I'm like the weirdest Garen on planet Earth. I pined over how I could get this champion the Masters here because, recently we had 2 Garen mains recently hit Masters. That's really exciting. And they both had different builds. But for the beginning of, and the most of 2017, we didn't have a single Garen One Trick Pony in the higher divisions of Master Tier, only Diamond. Even getting high Diamond was a rare sight. So I was constantly pining over my mind mentally every day. How can we make this champion work so a person in solo queue can get this champion to like Master Tier, maybe even Challenger someday, if that's even possible. So I always believe that Garen's itemization needs to be adaptive. There is not one cookie cutter build that can get you to a higher ranked unless you have a snowball. And there's some items like optimized, like for example the new Sterex is just really insane for Juggernauts at the moment. So we're going to see a little bit more standardized builds. But before Asterix got buffed, everybody was trying out different builds and theory crafting, and the Garen community was at large doing it. I mean, we switched from having Storm Raiders and Ghostblade to having Frozen Mallet and Fervor. That was the type of theory crafting we had. And with Garen, I feel like you don't have that cookie cutter build. Depending on the situation, how far or how behind you are ahead in lane, you need to build items on the fly, because Garen is one of the few individuals that goes first into a team fight or sometimes second, and you need to itemize so you can survive in these situations. So that is sometimes building reactionary to the enemy team. Like, for example, seeing how many 80 type of champions they have, or AP. Do they do recurring magic damage? And if that's the case, go ahead and get that adaptive helm. It's a very popular item that I'm building at the moment that works actually against many, many champions. You know, Kog'Maw, I believe it applies against Jax, Swain. You know, it's a really, really handy item, and it definitely makes a difference. Adds a CDR, gives health. But even in like different like random matchups, Garen's itemization can be so weird, but it can actually work if you apply critical thinking. Another example of this is like Alawi, right? When she hits you with like Test of Spirit, I think, when she brings the vessel out, you need to hit that consecutively to get rid of the vessel so you can get your soul back. And Garen has an easy time doing it, but he takes a lot of damage while he's contesting that. So some Garen players actually build Bomby's Cinder and go for Thunderlords. I'm actually testing that myself out with that matchup because Bomby's Cinder does passive damage each tick on top of his spin, and then proccing Thunderlords. It reduces the amount of time that you have to contest the vessel and get your spirit back, so you don't have to be in Alawi's face constantly, because it's a very high skill matchup in particular. So there are certain items that just really work in certain matchups.
So do you think there's like, so it sounds like you're telling me that Garen really doesn't even have like one core item. It really can, because you know some champions you have like 3 items you have to build, or 2 items you have to build because it just synergizes so well. But with Garen mid, that first item can be really anything and really variable.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think there's I think a lot of people assume that Garen needs to build Black Cleaver.
Oh yeah, that is such a hard stigma to get rid of people's minds. And sometimes I get flamed to criticize, why doesn't this Garen have Black Cleaver? Black Cleaver is not the item it used to be. This item has gotten considerably several nerfs to the point where it isn't mandatory on Garen. Okay, sure, from a stats point, comparison-wise, mathematically, it fits on Garen. It does the job. It gives him more armor shred, gives him the extra health, 400 health, and gives him the 20% cooldown reduction. All stats that Garen really enjoys, but it doesn't accentuate as much of a snowball, for example, to Black Cleaver's counterpart, Trinity Force. Trinity Force has been a popular item amongst Garen players recently because it actually allows Garen to amplify his front burst damage, where many compositions we're seeing lately have very poor front lines. We're seeing more like of a backline-centric ADC meta, where that extra damage for bursting that priority target is definitely warranted. So we're actually seeing more Garen players with Trinity Force instead of Black Cleaver. On top of that, too, you have to keep in mind that Garen's objective control is very, very poor. Say that 2 people on your team die individually, and there's one other person on your team that has to recall because of a very, very bad team fight. Garen is pitted by himself at full HP with 4 people going on Baron. Garen has really no assets in his kit to steal an objective. He cannot ult the Baron. It'd be really cool if he did, but he just doesn't have that. And going into the pit is almost near suicide because he's a big model size, so he gets hit by skill shots. And it's just he's not a 1v4 champion like Katarina or Master Yi or et cetera, et cetera. So Trinity Force, on the other hand, instead of Garen going to Baron pit, he could either teleport bottom or use his Ghostblade active to go bottom. And using the Trinity Force active is the Spellblade proc is so good for taking down towers. Garen is one of the few champions in League of Legends that has an auto attack reset that applies bonus damage to towers. We seldomly see that. In fact, one of the reasons why Trundle was so strong is because he was able to chomp towers. They took that off. Yeah. They removed that, but they finally gave it back, which is why we saw Trundle get a little bit of power back, even though he's still struggling a bit. But that allows Garen to actually provide pressure by actually going for a backdoor attempt. Because if the enemy team has Baron and they're pushing in, Garen's wave clear against like a Baron wave is so abysmal because he has to endanger himself in front of a tower in order to clear minions. He just is just very, very poor for defending objectives or just contesting objectives. So that backdoor potential from Trinity Force is so clutch for just providing some sort of pressure. Yeah, so Black Cleaver I think is just a very generalistic team fight, and it fits, but it doesn't always solve everything, you know?
Now, do you have like your game's going perfect, you're against your favorite matchup, do you have your favorite build?
Okay, I could probably nail one out. Okay, so say I'm like up against Cass. I got an early gank, I got first blood. I see bot lane got a double kill. I have a 2-0 Vayne, and I have a Nasus against him. Okay, so I automatically know that matchup's going to win. Nasus is going to heavily outscale, and I know that there's great security. We have lane priority, and our jungler's doing great. He's starting to evade. Everything is where it should be. I know my first item is going to be Banner of Command. I sometimes rush that item, and I know it sounds really, really weird. I remember playing against LS because he was playing Mordekaiser against Garen, and I do have that clip I could show you guys sometime. He brought the dragon. He brought the dragon. He cleared dragon, so he got the ghost dragon, and he was attacking the turret. And he didn't know that the ghost dragon triggers turret aggro if he's nearby. I don't know, Mordekaiser bugs, right? But he was taking turret shots, and he ended up taking too much. So I ended up flashing on him and ulting him. And I got the kill against him, against LS, and the Twitch chat just roared, and he got so vividly angry that I killed him when he had the Ghost Dragon. And after that, the Twitch chat is just commenting about this Banner minion just rolling down mid lane, and instead of him taking turret for first blood, I took his turret instead. So Banner of Command would be my first item. Banner of Command would be also my first item.
Go Mini-Mask.
Yeah, go Mini-Mask. Oh my goodness, I have so much fun with that little guy. But what Banner Command is so great when your team is ahead and you know that you have the security of early game. The reason being is that if that main laner leaves his lane to try and salvage any type of lane to help his lane out, I can just go ahead and use that item on a cannon minion. And not only does the cannon minion grow extra health so he can tank more turret shots, but it gets on average about 50 extra attack damage. So together with me auto attacking it, I sometimes download. I sometimes down the tower in just one outing, to the point where they return back to lane and their tower is missing, and I get first blood tower gold as a Garen mid lane. And diamond elo. It's so exciting. So Banner would probably be my first item. Okay, and that gives me 60 armor, 30 magic resistance, the point we're in a passive, which is really, really cool for Garen, and a lot of health regen. So that's a 10% CDR too. So next up, I really feel like increasing Garen's CDR is definitely important. So I probably would go for either Trinity Force or Black Cleaver next. A Black Cleaver if I'm typically looking to team fight, or Trinity Force if I feel like our team fight is not going to be strong and I want to attempt to backdoor with Banner and Trinity Force. A really good combination. So that'd probably be my second item. Next up after that, I would probably go for Sterak's Gauge. Because by that point, completing that item with the amount of gold, because it's about 3.2k gold to complete, I believe. By that point, completing the item, I should be level 14 or 15. So at that point, the item will be really well scaled. And of course, in between that, I will complete my tier 2 boots, depending on what the situation would be. After that, I will probably get something as of Guardian Angel. And then I would probably finish the build with like a generic or whatever type of magic resist item, Spirit Visage, or probably like Adaptive Helm. That would not only cap me out with 40% CDR, but it'd make me really difficult to kill because of Sterak's and GA, and also have around over 300 attack damage, and just having over 3k HP. It's all really a well-rounded build. The enemy team's going to have so much fun trying to kill me while I have my banner minion slow pushing down bottom. That would probably be like my ideal fun build.
Jeez.
All right, so this is something that it might be a really tough thing to talk about, but we recently had an internal tournament with our community, right? And one of the things that we saw shoutcasting those games was a lot of people weren't itemizing correctly. And most of our viewers are probably in bronze and silver, and they're still learning the game. A lot of them are very inexperienced still, and they're just trying to figure things out. They're just following pro builds or op.gg. How do you get to a point where you can be able to just that flexibly itemize? Because, we like to tell people like, oh, think about what you're building. But then, I find myself, especially in an off-roll, like I don't know which Zeal item I'm supposed to build on this AD carry because I don't play AD carry, even though like I know I kind of get what I'm supposed to do, and it's actually really hard. So what is your take on that? What is your advice to people that really want to be able to learn how to itemize well?
Absolutely. Okay, so the best thing I could say about anybody who wants to be better at itemization is no matter what anybody tells you, don't be afraid to experiment and follow what you think. Follow your intuition. Because nobody told me, hey, Risti, start building banner of command Garen mid lane. You know what I did? I actually went on LOL Wiki and I looked over all the items. I checked the gold efficiency. I saw their stats. Because if you were to ask somebody, okay, here's a piece of paper. I want you to write down what's the stats of every single item in League of Legends and what it does. Chances are, like I would say 90% or like 95% of those players wouldn't be able to do it because of patch notes. People don't follow up on what item changes are. Like, for example, I get so many comments in game about Banner Command. People think it's still an AP item. There's no ability power on that item whatsoever. It gets armor and magic resistance now, and it's so good on tanks. And it's extremely gold efficient. The banner minion, while it's pushing, actually gets you passive gold. Every single minion it kills gets you gold. I'm like, wow, this item is amazing. If I get it early, it gives me gold generation. If I get it late, okay, maybe it's split push. It's effective against dual AP comps. You know, I can whip out this item. And Garen players don't ever buy it. And it's that act of discovery that really forges new metas, new optimizations. The people who define the meta, they always start at square one, experimentation. They're not afraid to try over and over. So I would recommend go on LoL Wiki, look at every single category that applies to your champion, whether it be ability power, attack damage. Look at the gold efficiency. Look at the stats. Look at the build path. Try and hypothesize, what would this item do in this situation? Because if I didn't go on LoL Wiki, I probably would not be building Banner Command, and MiniMask would not be in my life today. So I would say, don't be afraid to experiment. If somebody is doing something differently, don't shoot it down. Give it a chance and encourage it, because it might be the new meta. I mean, people do this all the time. You know, people used to bash Morgana support for like being picked late lane. And then we see NALCS whip out Morgana support, and now people consider Morgana as an actual support. Don't be afraid to experiment, because you never know what the future meta is going to be. Absolutely, we never thought Arden Sensor was going to be meta. You cannot predict these things.
I'm an ADC main. Don't talk to me about Arden Sensor. The one thing, you know what you need to get yourself. You need to get yourself a shirt that is just a cannon minion, all buffed up, holding a banner command in his hand. And just like up in the air.
Artist, get on the commission. I will pay you. I'll pay you generous money.
Make that, and then behind him a horde of minions, and he's just leading the charge.
Oh my goodness!
Never forget.
My Twitch audience wants the emote. They really do.
Yeah. You definitely should get that. Get on that, man.
Yeah.
Can do so.
Now we did talk. Like, obviously, we just talked about like your item builds and how you do that, but you do change on your masters too, because I remember you touched on it slightly when you said like you guys theory crafted that it used to be you took Storm Raiders and this item, or you took you're theorizing to take Thunder Lords. And Garen, I feel, is one of those champions that has options, because like when I play him, and I've played him like casually because I've been playing for 7 years as well, I've never played him. I think I've probably played under 100 games with him in those years. I build Black Cleaver. I'm not going to now. I'm going to try some shit. but I wouldn't grasp the Undying on him. But it seems like you play around with that as well. Was that a same kind of process of just experimenting, trying shit out, or does that vary depending like from game to game and what you think you're going to need to build that game?
It definitely was a whole trial and error process, and many different Garen mains have their favorite. Like, for example, my Twitch friend and rival, Marine Revenge, he is a big fan of Storm Raider Surge, and it's a keystone that does make a lot of sense on Garen. Garen's one of the biggest issues is that he's kited, and then going in when using his decisive strike, he sacrifices his slow cleanse. This is why decision-making with Garen can actually be pretty critical sometimes, because in order to go in and get that speed boost, you are sacrificing the thing that prevents you from getting slowed. If somebody hits you if Nasus hits you with Wither, Q automatically, bam, that slow is gone. Same thing with like lose Fairy Dust, all these different slows in League of Legends. So Garen doesn't really have a way to deal with slows once he goes in. Proccing Storm Radio Surge is really fantastic for him because it gives him 75% slow resistance, which is fantastic. So just reading over a Mastery Keystone and just seeing what it offers, what it lists, it really does make sense if you just critically think. And that critically thinking process is what we did to apply to these masters. And currently today, I think I bounced between two different keystones, Grasp of the Undying, the one that you use, and Storm Radio Surge. We've experimented with other keystones too, but they really cater to niche builds. Like, for example, Fervor Battle, I think, is only really catered to a Frozen Mallet build because that encourages Garen to auto-attack more compared to other builds where he should really be spinning. So I definitely do bounce between both. If I go for a damage build where I'm focusing on definitely bursting someone in a quick manner and getting out, Storm Raider Surge is definitely the keystone to go. Sometimes I will go for Thunderlords too. The reason being is that it's a keystone that can be called upon anytime, really easy to proc. All you need to do is Q and spin. I'll definitely take it against matchups such as Alawi, Darius, and sometimes maybe even Pantheon. Champions that I need to burst down quickly and put them on death timer before they put me on death timer. Really, really critical. And then if I'm looking to tank it up, looking to be the frontliner, looking to go in with Righteous Glory and just initiate for my team, I go for Grasp of the Undying. It's not really that great of a keystone. I mean, it scales well with health. But the main reason we take the keystone is that it's a gateway keystone to allow you to get swiftness, which is 15% tenacity and slow resistance in the resolve tree. That is so valuable for Garen. So that's pretty much one of the reasons. If that mastery wasn't there, I probably would not take it.
Right,
so yeah,
take Bondo Stone, go full.
And we tried out Bondo Stone too. It isn't the best on Garen, but some people enjoyed it.
Fair enough. So does this translate to your runes too? Like, does that or do you have one set page you use? But like how does that balance out too? Because I know you say you primarily play mid, so I'm guessing it's slightly tuned for that.
Absolutely. I think I have 5 or 6 active rune pages for Garen, and sometimes for different matchups too. I have to say, a basis of Garen that I really enjoy is that he can utilize scaling runes really well. And as I said before, his levels 1 through 3 are really, really abysmal. So most champions who utilize flat runes are looking to fight at the beginning of laning phase, going for those early trades, using the trading stance, trying to get those early advantages. Garen's level 1 is kind of okay. His level 2 is pretty mediocre at best because his spin barely does more damage than auto attacks. His level 3, okay, you got some damage reduction, but he barely has any stacks, which is a passive mechanic. Every minion that you get gives you 0.25 armor and magic resistance. You got to stack that up. You're kind of like Nasus early game. So once you get the level 4, which is good, you can get a second ability point in one of your abilities. You get a 6 spin on Judgment, which is just part of the ability. You get an extra spin going from 5 to 10 at levels 4, 7, 10, 13, and 16. So, of course, levels are definitely in your favor, and biding your time is definitely in your favor. Farming it out is in your favor. So this is where scaling runes come in, because the flat runes that you would normally use for the early skirmishes are kind of wasted halfway at that point by the time you get the level 4. So scaling runes really, really work for Garen. And one of the master tier players who got the masters recently, Adam Reformed, he took full scaling armor seals and then scaling magic resist glyphs. He went for lethality, and some attack damage AD Garen players actually take critical strike chance marks, believe it or not. And let me tell you guys why. I don't know if you guys know this, but Garen's spin can critically strike.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, you got to think of it. Garen's spin late game can spin 10 times. So with an 8.4% chance of critically striking, that's 10 times that you can proc that set of runes. So it's not just auto-attacking. Garen actually has a very fast attack pattern. It's just all conglomerated into his spin. So and on top of that too, the early critical strike cheese is just so clutch. I have to say many Garen mains are going to miss those runes next year. But I'm saying overall, I have 2 different rune pages for mid. I'll take movement speed quins because I like roaming better. In mid lane, top lane, I'll go for lethality because I know I'm looking to fight to win my lane. It's basically standing your ground. You got to win the lane, otherwise it's going to be a disaster for your team. And then sometimes when I'm up against Vel'Koz, I'll switch out my Quints for flat health because I want to survive his ultimate. And I'm going to be taking a truckload of true damage. So give me that health, baby. And, you basically itemize. And then also, one last thing. Against Darius, I go super mad scientist. I go like super, super crazy. I actually take Thunderlords. I take Magic Penetration Glyphs and Hybrid Pen Quints. That way my Thunderlords and Ultimate does more damage. And sometimes that is the difference between him living or dying when I drop that sword on him. Honest to goodness. There's no point in taking Magic Resistance against Darius anyway. He doesn't do anything unless you take Corrupting Potion. But it's chump damage, really.
Fair enough. How do you like? And I don't know if this also applies to your mad scientistery. Or I don't know if that's a word, but it is now. To the LOLA dictionary. Do you always level your E first, or is that also dependent as well?
That is actually a really good question. Yeah, I do get really crafty with this. Okay, so some Garen players really differ on this. Many Garen players actually max Q first instead of spin. Believe it or not, there's many benefits of maxing Q over than Judgment, Garen's E. And I made a video about this actually on my channel, which you guys can check out. But the damage from Judgment is something that's accumulated over time. And even if you put 5 points into it, it doesn't have its full damage until level 16 because you have that 10th spin at level 16. You're still waiting for that.
Oh.
If you max Q first, not only do you get upfront damage, which can help you proc Stormreader Surge if you're going for an 80 Garen build, but not only that, the movement speed duration is longer, you can go for shorter trades. And if you want to win any lane as Garen in high elo, you need to focus on short trades, because if you go for extended trade against anybody, Fervor of Battle, taking champions, Aurelia, Darius, they're just going to dumpster you straight up. So you want to focus on the short trades, whittle the person down, and then go in with that Q, spin, ignite for the kill. So Q max is definitely helpful, although spin max can definitely work in some situations too. Like, for example, if I know I'm up against a matchup that wants to push me in really quickly, I'll go for spin first. That way I can spin into wave and make sure I can hard push against it so I don't have a mini wave crashing into me, level 1. I think like a good example of this is probably like maybe Twisted Fate, because you can just spread cards so easily. There's a lot of different miscellaneous champions too, but you learn that over time. Yeah. Mid lane 2, I sometimes put a second point in W level 4. And this is just all part of the critically thinking process. If you look at Garen's abilities, there is no, out of his first 3 abilities, none of them actually reduce their cooldown the more ability points you put into it, except for W. It's got a pretty lengthy cooldown. It's over 20 seconds. But if you put an extra point into W, it reduces it by 1 second. And it also increases the damage reduction by another second, too. A champion's typical combo in mid lane only lasts 2 to 3 seconds when they go for a full trade, besides auto attacks. So having that second point in W is really going to help me in difficult matchups, because not only do I get that extra second of damage reduction, but it reduces the cooldown by a second, which may make the difference between me having W readily available for an engage or not when I have a jungler coming in. So yeah, the ability points can all be adaptive, but I have to say, anybody who watches my stream will definitely see me maxing abilities in weird orders every single different game. It's really cool.
Fair enough. Sorry, I had a cough there. I have a one question too. Is like, when did you have you? Unless this is you did do this. Have you been playing Garen the entire 7 years you've been playing? Like, is this the culmination of 7 years of essentially just spinning to win, or is this did a switch for like, holy shit?
It's quite a story. Okay, so I have to. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start off and say no. I'm sorry to disappoint you guys. Garen is not my first love. I started League of Legends with Kassadin. I moved on to Ezreal. I loved farming champions. I picked up Vigar and Nasus. I played Karthus for a bit, and then
you still have like guilty pleasure days where you're like, turn off stream. Like play 1 or 2 games and then play 18 games to hide the indiscretions, or
oh my goodness, I'm gonna be doing that. I'm gonna do the season because I know I'm a little bit more interesting by playing different champions. So I'm gonna be spamming that Karthus because I want to pick. I miss my Karthus. I just love being able to hit a button and being able to get like a triple kill. And I'm sitting in base at the moment, and you know it's like a skillless ability, but you know everything else about Karthus is so difficult. But
now you have to make a Smurf called Karth Wrist.
Oh my goodness, the connoisseur of the pun.
Trademark that, Tyler.
I'm gonna go make that account right now and sell it to you. No.
Oh my goodness! Just please,
I'll take
only $100.
I'll take one of the mini mask shirts.
I will let you know when it becomes available. Get your pre-orders now, ladies and gentlemen. Get your pre-orders now. But as for picking up Garen, I want to say that it was really, really strange to me. My taste for enjoyment of gaming has really broadened and definitely narrowed in some areas when I went through the years. I'm sure you guys are definitely aware of ADGQ and SDGQ.
Oh, I lose a whole week every time. I love speed. Like,
I have no idea what this is.
This is an event where people raise money.
Twice a year.
Yeah.
They host an event where they raise usually for Dogs to the Borders or Prevent Cancer, and they literally do speed runs of all classic games that you love with.
Gotcha.
And it lasts for a full week, and these great games that you grew up and loved and are insane. And it's such a good event. I love that shit.
Yeah, we have like tens of thousands of people tuning in, and then just the audience, like the in jokes, like
kill the animals.
Yeah, kill the animals, and then like for example, they can speedrun Super Mario RPG, and whenever like they use an item and they say the text on the screen says "got a freebie," the whole audience is like freebie. It's just it makes you smile so much because you know that you're dealing with like a gamer community at heart. They know the jokes, they know the passion, they know the sad, the joyful moments of gaming, and it just makes you smile. Is it when they see playing those games?
When a record is broken at any of the GDQs, people go mental. Like I remember, this is a bit of a throwback for anybody that's watched this, or when Cosmo broke the Ocarina speed record, I think it was AGDQ, people went mental. People freaked out. It was like one of the first under 20 times like beating Ocarina, and people went mental, and it was so cool to watch.
Gaming is a serious thing, and people are witnessing history, so of course they're going to freak out. But more specifically, you will get those occasional players that will partake in challenge runs. A big example of this, for example, is like the reverse order boss run of Super Metroid, where you're not even fighting Kraid first. You're going on to Phantoon or Ridley, and we see people going through Lower Norfair and somehow surviving without the Varia suit. It's so engaging, it's so exciting, and those self-imposed rules just really amplify the whole gaming experience for me. So I look at a simple champion like Garen, right? I know his limitations. I know that he's pretty one-dimensional. His mechanical skilling isn't as high. I'm like, you know what? I find that same challenge trying to push this champion's limits, and I want to see if I can bring this champion to Master Tier. I feel like I'm that dude who beat Super Mario World blindfolded. No, I honestly feel that every time I summon Garen onto the Rift. And I guess that's one of the reasons why I haven't given up yet, because I just love pushing those limits. I know it's a challenge run. I know I'm in the extra hard mode. I know my controller might be only having 3 buttons when I should be playing with a GameCube controller, or I'm playing with a DDR pad. That's how I feel playing with Garen. And I guess that's what keeps my drive going for the champion.
That's really cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I probably should handicap myself to like on my way up to Masters as well. That's what I've been doing for the last 7 seasons.
I feel like I'm in the gravity. I feel like I'm Vegeta 400 times gravity, right?
Man, I have such champion ADD that I can't stick with one for that long. I would never be able to one trick. And it's almost because I've been playing for so long, there's so many champions I love that I'm like, I need to play a game with them. I'm bad at them, but they're so much fun, and thematically they're cool as shit.
And Riot does so much incredible work at making sure that you can always come back to your champion, or that they say, oh yeah, your favorite champion's been here the whole time. Like for example, I've been thinking, what champions am I going to be moving on from Garen? I might not even play Garen much next season. I'm actually not playing that much. I may play him occasionally. And then Riot Games releases the Legends Never Die music video, and I see Garen in his full glory just slashing through an army. In the video, I'm like, that's my champion. That's my champion. Oh my goodness, that's my champion. I'm like passion's back. Right. Nurtures champions so well. Oh my goodness.
All right, so
unless your favorite champion.
I have a question for you. So I'm listening to this podcast. I'm like, wow, Garen mid sounds like fun. I'm gonna go do it. How do you lane with it? Like, what are you trying to do in lane? I think you've mentioned like 1 through 3. Most likely, you're just kind of sitting and making sure you don't go push too hard in lane. But like, what is his trading patterns? What are you looking for to get the kill? How do you play safely with Garen without getting completely destroyed? Those kind of things.
Absolutely. It's not an easy thing to pick up. And anybody who wants to bring this out in solo queue, I have to say the reason I'm able to pull this off is because I know my matchups pretty much to a T. And I'm still improving with my matchups too. But matchup experience is definitely the number one thing, because you need to understand how a champion's going to trade with you, because making Garen survive the first outing laning phase is all knowing about your W. Courage. This is an ability that the first 0.75 seconds, it gives you 60% damage reduction and 60% tenacity. So you're going to be using that for either a crowd control ability or something, a really, really big nuke. Like, for example, Twisted Fate. He's coming to you with a gold card. He knows he's going to throw it at you. Okay, you easily hit W. You can just shrug it off. And you even miss his wild cards because you can move out of the way with the tenacity before he can even throw his Q.
Oh.
It throws him off. So the first outing with Garen, I typically recommend never trading, because you're diving through a mini wave. As soon as you land that decisive strike, you're triggering the minion aggro of the enemy's entire mini wave. On top of the auto attacks and the abilities, you're just going to lose the trade. You want to farm it out. You typically are a champion that just toughs it out and farms it out. So early on, you just want to farm for CS, go for auto attack resets, farming underneath the tower. I go for a point in Q level 1. I'll go for a point in W level 2 if the enemy isn't pushing. I'll go for a point in spin level 2 if they are pushing. The reason being is that if you auto attack a minion and they're at like 2% HP, but you quickly activate Judgment, you'll get the minion underneath the tower and it'll get you a few more CS.
Okay.
So I'll farm this out. I'll farm out my W stacks, and I'll reach level 6. This is really beneficial too if you're dual queuing with the jungler. Like, for example, if you want to try something out new mid lane and you're dual queuing with the jungler, you're going to have a lot of fun mid lane, because all those mid laners love pushing. They're like, oh, I'm up against Garen. This is easy stuff. And then your jungler duel comes in, and then you nail them with the sounds. And they're like, I can't hit any of my buttons. Why can't I flash right? And then you just throw the judgment on them. You throw the sword on them. You get kills. And you can just go ahead and snowball it. You can push, you can roam, you can hunt the villain.
Mm-hmm.
So farming out to level 6 is definitely important. You probably want to just not fight into your first back. When you get level 6, you probably will be identifying who the first villain is going to be. At that point, do you want to assess, is my team really ahead or is my team really behind? If your team's really ahead, definitely try out Banner of Command, because you definitely may tilt the enemy mid laner because they have to deal with a minion they can't kill. And on top of that, too, if they finally manage to last hit it, it's not like Zizzaroth. They don't get the 50 gold. They get the normal minion value gold. Even if they attempt to kill it, it's like, hey, congratulations. You won worlds. Minion. Here's a T-shirt. Yeah. Pretty much. So if you're not ahead, you typically want to go for more traditional items that either are adaptive, get tier 2 boots. I typically go for boost and phage if I have like around 1,500 gold. That way it increases my my wave clear a little bit. I have the rage passive for chasing. The health amplifies my passive. A lot of synergy in place. Mm-hmm. And then looking for that, I'm gonna maybe put a second point in spin or 2. I'm gonna push out, and with Ghost and Flash, I typically either match the enemy mid laners' rotations, or if they back, I go ahead and roam and just activate that Ghost to dive that villain. And just land those true damage ultimates. It's just really great when you're having a Garen mid lane coming from mid lane and just going ahead and just rushing in, just dropping the sword and just casually just being like, okay, my job here is done. Going back to mid lane.
Yeah, sprinting out. Yeah.
And then from there, you just want to continue the build. You just want to continue to build adaptive. Just got to be careful if your bot lane gets first blood tower, immediately tell them to come middle, because past like the 15-minute mark, Garen has a really difficult time just keeping mid lane tower alive if he's by himself, because his wave clear is just really endangering for himself. Mm-hmm. So you always want to look for that shot calling experience. When you play Baron of Command Garen mid lane, you are the shot caller. You lead the charge, and you will get those leadership honors at the end of the game, because the leadership honor looks just like Banner of Command. You guys see, it's all part of the plan here. If you want those honors, you whip out that Banner of Command, ladies.
And there's the second T-shirt coming out in his line.
Oh my god. Marketing.
What's a summoner spell you're taking? You're taking Flash and...
I typically take Flash and Ghost.
Okay.
Garen's biggest issue is getting kited. So Ghost and Flash is just a really, really sweet combination. And what's really great about Ghost is that there's many plays that Garen has to burn Flash in order to make. For example, if someone's low, but Garen isn't fast enough. And this is so frustrating. Okay, got to burn my Flash. Okay, my Flash is on cooldown 5 minutes, and at least they're on death timer. But Garen misses out on his Flash, and Flash is such an important summoner spell to have because it enables you to do so many plays where you're flashing for initiation to nuke somebody, flashing over a wall. But Ghost, if you use Ghost instead of Flash, you get that kill. It's on a 2.5 minute cooldown. I take Insight in the Resolve tree to get the 15% summoner spell reduction, and that frees up my dependency for using Flash in many situations. So I can use Flash in a more applicable situation where Ghost may have not helped me. Like Flash, for example, when J4 ults me, I need my Flash to get out of that one, buddy.
Yeah.
So Ghost and Flash is typically my main one. I will sometimes take Cleanse if I'm up against LeBlanc and I feel like I'm going to lose the matchup and I'm not going to get help. But typically Ghost and Flash is going to be my go-to unless I see that there's several tanks on my team. I'll go for like a full AD Garen strategy, like Ghostblade, Trinity Force. Actually, mid lane, I'll take the Ignite, and I'll basically just tough it out. So,
fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question for you. What skin you using? Are you a vanilla guy? Are you a rugged Garen? What is it?
Oh, pleasure? All right, everybody. Now we're getting to the real question.
Yeah, what are you using?
I'm a pretty selfless person. Most of the time, I let my audience vote on skin that I use. If somebody's
what's
on my
your
stream,
favorite though?
Okay. All right. Well, this is pretty obvious, but I think Warring Kingdoms is definitely my favorite. I mean, Riot Games did such an amazing job on the skin. The visuals, the splash art, the model. The sounds, just that glowing green sword. I mean, the spinning dragon on the spin. It is just definitely like if there was anything close to a legendary Garen skin, Warring Kingdoms would be it. And it's so. And I feel bad for so many new Garen players who are like, this champion's great. I can build Banner Command and get free low mid lane. I want to buy it. Oh, Riot Games, why don't you give me your money? It's in the Legacy Vault. I can't buy the skin anymore. Like one of Garen's best skins, you can't buy at the moment. So you got to get those loot boxes. You got to just try opening up those boxes.
So what skin do you want Riot to make for Garen? Like, do you want a Super Galaxy one, or do you want a Star Guardian Garen or something?
Masquerade Garen.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, all right, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. If they ever make a Garen skin with a mask, I'm just like picturing like right at the coffee table, being like, okay, all right, all right, everybody, let's go ahead and talk about this. This streamer has been promoting this champion for about say 6 years. He's still doing it. I don't know how he is, but I think we should make a skin for him. Let's go ahead and just throw a mask on him, and he's probably gonna die a happy man. So I definitely think it'd be cool if Garen had a Warden skin, because the Warden theme is they have those helmets, they have that type of mask setting. So I think a Warden Garen skin would be an amazing 750 skin that's easy to purchase, and I definitely would jump on that train. As for anything that's funny, Star Guardian Garen would definitely be great. Although I don't think they're going to make him shirtless, but I think Pool Party Garen would be great too. I know he'd probably be like a sprinkler when he spun, and then when he drops his sword, it'd be like a waterfall on people. It'd be like a straight up waterfall. That'd be really, really cool.
I could see them doing like if anyone's familiar with Overwatch, the Mystery Man McCree, the Banana Man one, where he has like just like the mask, like the masked vigilante Garen.
Oh my goodness!
The eye, like that'd be a good one too.
Yeah, instead of his cape, he could be like the tuxedo mask with the sword. I think he could rep it. Riot Games, you know what to do. You've listened to this podcast. Get to work.
Yeah, you need to contact their skins department. You have to tweet them. You have to tweet what's her name, Katie. I can't remember what her.
Katie Chaos.
Yeah, exactly. Just tweet her and be like, "What do I need to do for you guys to consider making a skin?"
And they're going to reply, join the LCS team and win worlds. We'll put a mask on the team skin.
So that's pretty easy. Maybe like half a year, you got it? All right.
Because
cool.
they put glasses on the Imp when they did the Samsung Galaxy Twitch. So
yeah, they did.
The same thing for me. Yeah.
Now, here's another question for you. How many times have you yelled Demacia in your life?
Certain questions don't have an answer. I feel like that's one of them. I lost count. It's like kind of asking how many times has someone blinked in their life,
How many times have you yelled at somewhere it wasn't good to yell Demacia in?
Okay. So I'm pretty sure
I'm yelling for the bus sprinting.
Okay, so I remember this year I had a health scare. I overcame a bladder infection, so it was really scary for me. But when I found out I was going to be okay, because, with a bladder infection, the signs, it's not always clear that's a bladder infection. So I went straight to the hospital. I went straight to the ER. They did a test. I did have a bladder infection, but I was going to be okay. You can overcome it. It could have been much worse, though. It could have been cancer. I was really afraid for my life.
Jeez.
So just knowing I was going to be okay, that feeling that you're going to be okay, it's just incredible. Coming in terms of your mortality, it's definitely an amazing experience if you know you're going to be all right. But I remember walking out of that hospital. I didn't know. I wanted to shout something, and I didn't know what to say. So I ended up just saying Demacia.
Oh, that's awesome.
I just ran to
That's
my car. Oh my goodness! And I'm pretty sure somebody in the hospital that the
It
service
just
desk
like it
heard
was
me.
on break, sitting near a window, and all of a sudden they're like, "What the?"
Somebody else plays League of Legends. Oh my god! I can keep barking here.
That's funny.
The one thing to shone through with that, like just kind of like the story you just told, is that, and it's even like the top of the description for your stream, is that your audience will never find you tilted, open aggression towards the game. Like, have you just always been like a generally positive person, like, or do you get tilted, but you know how to keep it to yourself and not outwardly express it, and you know like how to internalize and deal with it? Like, where does that come from? Like, how do you go about doing that? Because we get a lot of questions about tilt, detilting, how to handle it. If it comes to you in game, how to handle it. So like, and I see it's a big thing for you, right? So
I think it's a combination of both, to be honest. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I just whenever anybody asks me this question, I always tell them, you know what, I think I'm way too lucky of an individual in life to be mad at a video game that has brought me many joys. Many people forget the fact that they installed this game to have fun, and I never lose sight of that reason. So when anybody asks me this question, I tell them, you want to remember all the good things in your life. Remember all the things that you should be thankful for. And it doesn't have to be even a religious thing. You know, I'm not particularly religious myself. I'm just really happy. I'm like a guy excited to be alive. I'm glad I have a roof over my head. I'm healthy. I compared to all the other people in the world who play League of Legends to escape because their day is screaming at them. They don't know if they're going to be there tomorrow, or even if they have the food for tomorrow, or what tomorrow's going to bring for them. As for me, I can go to bed and wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm going to have a good day streaming. And I know so many other people don't have the opportunity that I have, and being a healthy, completely young person who has a roof over their head. So I always keep it in perspective that I'm a grateful individual. And when I get paired up with other people, no matter how they treat me, even if they're having a bad day, you know, I comment on this on stream all the time. I never flame back to them. I never really extensively argue with them. I talk about the gift of anger because many people get burned out and tilted to the game, but they want to give the anger. Anger is an infectious thing in League of Legends, and it can alter people's way. It's culture forming. So I never say to myself, you know what? I'm having a bad time on this game. I'm going to make someone's day worse by playing the game, you know. And someone might be enjoying their game as an escapism, and they might be having a bad day, but I'm not going to bring them down for it. So that's how I can never really come to the point where I want to flame somebody. And on the other side of your other example, I have to say that it definitely was something I had to work on for sure, because I remember I used to argue with players. Of course, I would never tell people that type of stuff that are found in common arguments, like, oh, well, I'm right about this, so go KYS. All right, leave the lobby, you know, stuff like that. I love having debates. I think debates is definitely the key core component, because I love talking about why we lost the game. But, you know, people love playing the blame game, scapegoating. And I had to learn to stop arguing over time, because arguing, I think, is one of the most pointless and detrimental things you can be doing, because arguing in League of Legends is just a complete waste of time, I think, because many people just don't have that rationality. And I think, when it comes to attitude, I definitely will get burnt out. No matter how you treat other players, there's one person that you can always disappoint in your game, and that is yourself. And I used to disappoint myself a lot. I used to get upset and sometimes even frustrated that I felt like I wasn't improving the way I should be. I felt like I was letting myself down, and I had to defeat those mental barriers. I had to be more patient with myself. I say, maybe I'm not going to get there as quickly as someone else. Maybe my level of learning, my adaptivity of the learning is not as great as that other person, or Faker, for example. But I'm going to find my own way, and that's kind of how solo queue is. It's an emotional journey, and sometimes it's necessary. So I have to say, I didn't come out of the womb. I wasn't brought up this way, but it's through choices and witnessing other people's experiences with just increasing their own knowledge and improving themselves. It gave me the motivation to find it myself. And I often talk about this, but I think some players in this game have a mood of steel. So if you can play this game and enjoy it without anybody else bothering you, that is definitely something. That is definitely a great achievement in this game. No matter what type of virtual thing you get in game, that is an achievement in itself. And some people ask me, well, how'd you even get that? And I tell them, well, dude, I beat Battletoads. If you beat that video game, there's nothing in League of Legends that could possibly make you mad. Because for those of you who know Battletoads, that game just it does not play fair. It does not play fair.
Have you played the first Ninja Turtles game though? Have you beaten that one?
Oh yeah, I have not beaten it, but and I'm like, you know what? I got Super Mario Bros. Let's play a different game because I don't have the patience for this.
Screw that game. No, I love all the points you mentioned, and I think a lot of it comes down to perspective. I think you have the idea perspective correct, and that's hard. It's hard to understand that because we tunnel vision on things and we want to have a good time, and a lot of us really lock our enjoyment of the game to winning or losing it. So if we lose, we're upset, we're angry. If we win, we're not even as happy as we should be winning, and therefore, that's a sucky perspective to have on the game because that means just by the way Riot designed matchmaking and the game, you are going to be unhappy half the time. That's Absolutely. Not a way to go into a game. And I think in losses you can find enjoyment, whether it's you being really competitive and finding things that you can learn about yourself or learn about the game, or it's just hey, I had a good time, I was able to spend 40 minutes doing something I enjoyed, and so what if I lost?
Absolutely. This is one of the reasons why I enjoy streaming so much, because even if I lose a game, one of the things I automatically bring up is saying I reflect about what I could have done better. I never ever say I lost this game because my teammates were feeding and there was nothing I could do. Even if my chat audience thinks that that's the case, I always get critical of myself and say, you know what, I didn't play perfect either. There were things I could have done better myself. Mm-hmm. I gotta focus on just me because I'm the only person I can control in the equation. That is me putting the solo kill. Yeah. So you gotta take a lot from the losses too, because it's a lot of time that you shouldn't waste. Losses in League of Legends are not waste time. It can be an enjoyable experience. I share that on stream, but you can learn so much from your own mistakes. And that is how people have gotten to the point where they are. The Master Tier Garen player actually started playing League of Legends in Season 6. I don't know if that is 100% true. Wow. But that definitely drives it home to that I should never doubt how more I can definitely improve my ability to learn. Mm-hmm. Expanding your ability to learn is something that will definitely drive you further and further, and never ever get comfortable with that, because you can always improve on it. And I'm doing it right now. I got a reality check. I'm doing it right now.
Cool. Fair enough. I love it. Well, Sam, do you have any last questions before we wrap up?
I guess last question and kind of close this off is why should people play Garen? Why do you think that people should play Garen that are listening to this?
Okay, so I have to be real with you guys. I'm not gonna butter up Garen as a champion that is gonna be your dream champion to get you the gateway into Diamond, because the higher you climb, the more difficult Garen is. The reality of Garen is that he's a generalist champion. There is when somebody asks a question, what champion does this the best? One of the few answers that's going to have Garen in it is which champion shouts the loudest while you play him in solo queue. Of course, you got Garen because he shouts Demacia always, and that doesn't really help you win games, which is what people really want when they pick up a champion game. I want a champion that wins games. What's great about Garen is that he's easy to pick up. He's pretty, his dimensions are pretty narrow, but they're definitely friendly for beginners. His trading patterns are really, really easy. So I have to say, for the new beginners, League of Legends, Garen is definitely a great champion to pick up if you want someone not too complex. Also, if you're looking for a champion with a really satisfying ultimate, well, Garen's got it, because when you drop that ultimate on a villain, and your support on the enemy team used the exhaust on you, and they're wondering why the ultimate went through, it just caused such a rile. And even in Diamond, I have players who type in chat for some strange reason, when I kill them as a villain, they're like, they do the passive aggressive, 1.2k damage ultimate, that's balanced. And I'm thinking to myself, like in a share while I'm on the stream, I'm like, you know what, guys, audience, have these people played against Darius before? I mean, what century am I on here? But I have to say though, if you're looking,
right now.
yeah, exactly. But Garen taught me to be more patient in League of Legends. So if by any chance you're looking to be a more patient player, then maybe you can pick up that champion too. But other than that, spin to win and Demacia for life. So that's pretty much it.
Nice.
Pretty much it, boys.
That was like a perfect ending, and I'm sorry because I have to break the ending because I just thought of another question that I wanted to ask.
Okay.
So Garen probably will be reworked at some point. Would you agree with that? What kind of reworks do you think we would see, or like what do you think they might keep? What do you want to see changed?
Absolutely.
Sure.
You see, I made a recent suggestion to Riot that Garen can actually be the first champion to reintroduce the mana burn mechanic, but that is a very controversial thing that is divided the player base. And actually, that made a top post on Reddit. It got thousands of upvotes, and it caused a big discussion because people were comparing mana burn to its relevancy in League of Legends compared to it in Dota, which I think in Dota 2 mana burn is still a thing. But I proposed that Garen could actually have mana burn because he's a champion that is meant to persevere. So if he could technically challenge other champions' perseverance at the same time, while still having counterplay, because for example, there's a lot of champions that don't deal with a mana bar. So of course, this is a mechanic that would have counterplay because if someone locks in Garen, I can pick Renekton and I don't even have to deal with the mana burn thing. But a Riot employee commented and shot down saying that it eliminated the choice of having options to respond to a situation. And I'm thinking of, why Malzahar's ultimate's still in the game, or etc. Or why Orin has 20% maximum HP percentile damage on one of his non-ultimate abilities. But I love Riot Games. I don't always agree with everything they do, but I definitely want to be critically thinking. I want to open a discussion for them because they know Garen needs work. And they know that there's a lot of people who enjoy Garen. I mean, the demand of the champion is there. It's not Yorick levels. There's actually a higher champion love for Garen. But they stated that they don't know what they want to do just yet for him. They really are in the dark. And you can't just add extra damage. You can't add raw power to Garen because that's going to turn him into a binary champion. I mean, we did that before the Juggernaut rework, and they ended up nerfing him in ways that really, really hurt us. I mean, when we saw that movement speed nerf on Garen, so many people were just weeping nonstop because that just hit us so hard. So I have to say, any Riot Games employee that is potentially listening to this, start with the small stuff first. Go for the quality of life changes. There's a lot of small stuff that can definitely be improved on. For example, I really think it would be cool if Garen, for some strange reason, when you actually jump up to land Decisive Strike, you cannot cast W while that's happening. That's sometimes really jarring for Garen players when they're looking to land the sounds, but they end up getting caught in a very, very small but frustrating window of not being able to cast W. For example, I land Silence on Morgana, but I can't cast W, and she sends out Dark Binding at the last second. That's when I've actually been bound the most when trying to chase a Morgana player after I go for a flash, etc., etc. Another interesting thing, too, I think, is that I think they need to let Garen cancel his spin immediately, because right now, when Garen spins, you actually have to wait like a second to re-cancel the ability. If we look in the Champion Cinematic at Twist of Fate, where he's fighting against Katarina, he does that homage to the spin to win thing, but he does a very brief spin, and that fluidity. And Garen in the cinematic, I think Garen should represent that in game too. Garen should go for like a quick spin, and being able to cancel his spin almost immediately. That would be so great for Trinity Force Garen, because when he's backdooring and pushing a tower, he can just go ahead and spin for a quick millisecond, cancel it, and he gets a Spellblade proc without even having to clear minions. And that would be so helpful for a split push too. He could be turned into a secondary sustaining, you can't get this person out of lane split pushing Juggernaut. So the quality of life stuff is definitely important. Now, I'm going to talk really quickly about the villain mechanic, because I know a lot of people want the villain mechanic to be gone because it's just the people think it's like a really gimmicky thing, and a lot of Garen mains want it revised. A lot of Garen mains want it gone completely. But Marine Revenge recently said something that I agree with. I really feel like they should always, no matter what they do with the villain mechanic, they need to keep some way for Garen to deal true damage conditionally against a target. Because if they remove that, then Exhaust is going to hard counter Garen. Again, really, really badly. Yeah. I mean, Exhaust will be the guaranteed thing. I mean, the villain mechanic is the only thing that we can do with the bypass and make sure, okay, Exhaust is not going to screw us over here. So I have to say, they have to be careful what they're doing. But I really don't know. But they should start with the small stuff first.
Yeah, cool. Fair enough, and not just jump too far.
Absolutely.
Too far past the mark.
Right.
Well, thank you for coming and talk to us. I definitely want to play Garen more, and I'm definitely going to check out your stream. And
thank you.
I have to see that compilation of streamer reactions, so I'm definitely keep an eye out for that. And like we said earlier, the links to all of our wonderful guests' Twitch and YouTube is all going to be in the show notes, so be sure to go check them out. If you want some positivity and some good gameplay, and you want to learn how to lose like Garen mid, because a lot of, he can do it, we can't. But I mean, go learn; it'll be fun. But yeah, so thank you. It was awesome to talk to you.
I had an absolute blast. Thank you so much, both of you. I really did have a blast.
Awesome.
And by the way, Demacia. Demacia!
There's added one more to the counter, right?
Exactly.
Alrighty. And do we have any other announcements this week, Sam?
No, I think we're just good to end the show.
All right, guys. Everyone have a wonderful evening. This is actually my last episode. I know I said that last one, but this is actually my last one. So, miss you all. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
See ya. Awesome. Hey, Rist, do you have I told someone in the stream right now, like way back